Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fall edition of Words Friends. I am your host this evening. I am Sara Matson, and tonight I am really thrilled to be hosting brilliant writers and their words. I know this time of year is especially busy with the end of the summer, back to school, and changing seasons. So I'm really thankful to each of our readers for sharing your time and energy with all of us tonight. Thank you so much to our fabulous audience who is joining us live tonight, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, thanks so much for being here. And thanks to the brilliant folks that are here tonight that have previously read on Words and Friends. I forever adore and appreciate you. Thank you so much, Nate. I see you. You're the best. This evening, I am so excited to be hearing from the incredible Ellis Eden, Ola Faleti, Sandra Marchetti, Skye Jackson, Lemmy Ya'akova, and Bob Sykora. What a lineup, y'all. It's such a joy to host all of you tonight. I started this reading series because writing is my passion and my obsession, and getting to share the words of amazing folks in their own voice is such a deep source of inspiration to me, so I really appreciate it. We writers, I'd say especially poets, but we do this for the love and the necessity of writing, which is a really nice way of saying unpaid. So when you love what you hear tonight, which I know you will, please consider supporting these wonderful writers by purchasing their books, subscribing to their Substacks, attending live readings. Following and sharing their work on social media is a really great free way to kind of get involved a tiny bit. I'm going to be including links to the author's books and websites, both in the chat and in the description of this video, so you'll be able to get in contact or buy their stuff. Before we begin tonight, I would like to use this platform to continue to demand a permanent end to the slaughter in Gaza. Fuck ICE, fuck Trump, free Palestine forever and always. And with that, I would like to get started with some beautiful writers. Our first reader tonight is the wonderful Ellis Eden. I was immediately captured by her writing style, kindness, and generosity. Ellis uses her platform to encourage and connect, and actually introduced me to a really awesome Manchester-based writer, Gabby Harvey, who I got to meet in person in Chicago a couple weeks ago. So Ellis not only unites people in words, but also friendship. And she graciously lets me babble on about Xena. Ellis Eden is a writer and award-winning designer based in Gainesville, Florida. She was recently nominated for Best of the Net, and her words have been published in Wild Roof Journal, Wildscape Literary Magazine, and The Winged Moon. She has worked for River Styx and Plowshares and is currently writing a guide to the common negative emotional experiences of writing using science-based advice and contemporary psychology. Yes. Her reading tonight is an excerpt from the first chapter of her manuscript. Please, everyone, join me in welcoming the fantastic Ellis Eden.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I see so many faces I know, and it makes my heart so happy. You know, when we're like alone writing all the time, we forget there's this whole community out there. And thank you again, Sarah, for doing this. It really means a lot to me. So if you would like to follow along with my reading, I've actually uploaded the document into the chat. So if you scroll back, you can open it up and look at it, because myself, sometimes I have trouble following along. To spoken presentations. Okay, let me pull up my document. And this is an excerpt from the first chapter of a manuscript I'm working on called The Writer's First Aid Kit. Okay, and it's about 7 minutes long. So this first chapter is called The Fight for Your Life Club. A reliable way to annoy your friends is to ask about their New Year's resolutions. No one wants to consider working out or saving money from inside the echo chamber of a hangover. And as we grow older, the possibility of real personal change seems laughable and hardly worth the inevitable failure. Despite all this, I love resolutions. It's a childish confession, like believing in unicorns or lucky pennies. To me, New Year's resolutions symbolize the hope that one day I'll ascend my mortal limitations and become perfect. A polymath with the muscle definition of a Michelangelo, able to parent and write and work and clean without complaint. At the reprisal of every January, I became discipline embodied. I'd rise with the sun and map out the day. Laundry was washed, groceries were bought, nutritious meals planned, butts wiped, children dressed, and permission slips to ill-fated trampoline adventures signed. Bills were paid early, and my car never smelled like week-old French fries. If I saw a shirt at the gym that read, "Pain is weakness leaving the body," I'd nod in agreement instead of rolling my eyes. One evening, after 16 hours of nonstop motion, I staggered to the couch, nauseous at the prospect of another day. I had achieved maximum human productivity, and I was miserable. "What's the point?" I wailed to my husband while he folded laundry. "How do people live like this?" He made sympathetic noises while sliding a stack of towels away from my full-body tantrum. Every year, I convinced myself I could become the master of time. But in doing all the things that needed to be done, my lists grew longer and the days shorter. I promised myself that once I figured out how to manage life, something that had eluded me for 3 decades, I'd have so much time to write. Yet no matter how much I accomplished, there was always more to do. In the crush of productivity, I lost my free time and patience for the absurdities of life. I barked at my children for being too slow with their shoes. I shouted at traffic and fumed in long lines. It was my time, goddammit, and everyone was taking it. When I did find a moment to write, I'd sit at a blank page and stare into a middle distance as the room spun around my head. Underneath the innocent habit of resolution making was the belief that I could become a fantasy creature, that my dream self lived on the other side of great sacrifice. Yet, when I tried to become that unicorn, all the pleasure of daily living disappeared. In chasing a perfect life, I lost joy in the one I had. When interviewing the writing community in the genesis of this project, time poverty was identified as the primary struggle to a successful writing practice, afflicting new and experienced writers alike. If you're unfamiliar with time poverty, it's the acute feeling of having too much to do and not enough time to do it. Time poverty is a defining characteristic of our generation. Do you know anyone who isn't busy? Even though we have more leisure time than any era in our nation's history, our busyness has become an inescapable trap. So, how do we fix our collective time poverty and make space for writing? Are there ways to find time that don't center on grinding or hyperproductivity? How do we dispense with if only thinking and discern the truth with clear eyes? I decided to investigate time, the nemesis and benefactor of my neurodivergent life. In searching for a solution to time poverty, I refused to settle on the same advice that had failed me for decades. I let go of what I thought to be true. Not only did I want to find more time to write, I wanted to recognize the conscious and unconscious patterns that sabotage our collective time. We can't save our way out of time poverty. There's no recovering the sand in our invisible hourglass. There will never be enough time, but if we are to write, there must be time enough. Before starting the experiment, I considered my past failings. No time management system had ever worked for me, regardless of how large the carrot or swift the stick. A David Lynch quote had been rattling around in my head for weeks. "Fix your heart or die." Maybe I'd been approaching time all wrong. Maybe before I asked how to find time to write, I needed to ask why, to fix the heart of my intentions. Why do I want to write? What does it matter anyway? And how much time do I have left? Here's a sobering fact. In the United States, the average life expectancy is 78.4 years. This averages to 29,000 days, 4,000 weeks, and 960 months. At 41, this means at best I have 2,000 weeks left. Only 300 more Saturdays with my children before they leave the house, 40 more Christmases, and 6 more summer vacations together as a family. All the years and moments that came before are gone and never to return. When you have a moment, calculate how many weeks and months you have left. It might be less than you'd think. Even with the knowledge of our mortality, we project ourselves into a future fantasy life. We believe that tomorrow will always have more time than today, that tomorrow is full of potential. Yet, in reality, there will never be more time. We could become more efficient, multitasking our way into super productivity, but does it really benefit our lives? And are we richer for all the busyness? Is productivity truly the greatest good? Even if we do manage to master our to-do lists, we quickly come to a paradox. The more we try to organize and control time, the emptier and more frustrating life becomes. I realized this was why I'd always failed at time management. I wasn't bad at life. My assumptions were wrong. Doing more was never the answer. I could be a whirlwind of productivity for the next 2,000 weeks, packing accomplishment into every breathing moment, and it would never be enough. The harder I'd struggle to fit everything in, the more time I'd spend on the least meaningful things. Getting more done wouldn't give me time with the people or things I loved. It wouldn't bring back the hours and days I'd already wasted shadowboxing an enemy that didn't exist. The answer was never productivity, but rebellion. To reject the illusion of a perfect life, to let go of what doesn't matter, and fight for the things that do. Maybe not in a true Flight Club style, but adjacent to it. More hugs, less blood. The fight for your life club. In accepting my limits and deciding what was worthy of my brief time on this planet, I wondered, what could I afford to let go? And the inverse, what could I not afford to let go? I walked around my house, reflecting on the physical and mental environment of my life. Now it's your turn. Take a moment and ask yourself these questions. What can I afford to let go? What matters most? What can't I live without? And what do I wish I could fix? Grab a notebook and walk around your house, your office, and record your observations. Let the objects and people you see trigger associations and allow them to arise. What can you let go? What needs to be protected at all costs? Are there deep regrets or sorrows embedded in your daily life? From these questions, you'll start to develop an understanding of what's most important to you and what you can stop carrying. So thank you for listening to this excerpt from the first chapter of my book, The Writer's First Aid Kit, with any luck. If you'd like to know more, feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to sign you up for a free pilot workshop that's upcoming in October. And thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.
That was absolutely fantastic. Everyone, you just heard the amazing work of Ellis Eden. You can find more of her at elliseden.com. That's ELLISEDEN.com, and also on Instagram at Ellis Eden Author. Wow, that was really wonderful. I'm really excited to read your book, babe. What a treat. Thank you for sharing with us. Excellent. Our next fantastic author this evening is Ola Faleti. I had the privilege of reading with Ola to celebrate our headliner this evening, Bob Sykora, on the Utopians in Love World Tour, and I was immediately drawn to Ola's brilliant words. Ola's work isn't all poetry, but it is most definitely all poetry. And her blending of genres is really gorgeous and effortless. Ola Faleti is the author of the fiction chapbook Soft and Solid 2024 and an artist and arts educator based right here in Chicago. Her writing, including a collaborative poetry chapbook with Pity Milk Press, has also appeared in Voicemail Poems, Unwoven, Tri-Quarterly, and elsewhere. Curriculum for Ola's workshop with 826 Shy, Poets in Revolt, was nationally distributed and birthed an anthology of youth writing. Currently, Ola runs Spare Jar Consulting, a grant writing and creative facilitation business, and teaches poetry with the Chicago Poetry Center. She is the former nonfiction editor of Vagabond City Lit 2020 to 2024. Her favorite number is 9. She believes there is no such thing as too many flowers. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Ola Faleti.
Oh wow, what a welcome. Thank you. I mean, I know this is like my bio that you sourced from places, but I feel like you read it with such delight that I feel like I was hearing it anew. That was so kind. 9 is a great number. Yes. 9 is a great number. Yeah, so glad to be here. Thank you all for also being in attendance. As Sara mentioned, we met at another reading for Bob's book, Utopians in Love, and this worked out so serendipitously. And oh my gosh, 3 is my second favorite number. So I love threes. I have like a 333 and a 999 necklace. So yes, I love numbers as well. For someone who's like not good at math. But yes, so I met Sara at Bob's reading, and Bob and I also were both editors at Vagabond City Lit, which was how we met. Bob was the editor in chief at the time. So this feels like a very lovely kind of full circle / merging of many creative spaces, which is really lovely. For my reading, I think I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. I'm going to be reading from my collaborative chapbook with Pity Milk Press. It's called, it's from an anthology or a series called Duet Duet. Pity Milk Press is a really great Milwaukee-based small press. All their books are hand-bound, saddle-stitched, very DIY, very charming. And this is a really cool series where my poetry was paired with that of a poet who I did not know. So my fellow poet is Skye March, and I think it's really cool how these poems kind of dance together. So I will be reading 5 poems from this collection. This one is called Lavender, and it is after the 1996 film Matilda, which is an adaptation of the 1988 novel. So any Matilda lovers, I'm dedicating this one to you. Imagine you are 7 and you know what the devil looks like. Her eyes are hard blue marble, her mouth foaming and raw. Her hands are strong and calloused, tossing girls by the pigtail and boys by the shoelace. Pray every morning that she never grows in ire for your inquisitions and small wonders. Build a tiny altar in the corner of a room. Indulge in the pretty things that mama fills the world with. The cookie dough and beaded bracelets and namesake oils dabbed behind ears. Think you're the only one who sees until you meet a girl with a machine for a mind, making pencils dance on desks and chalkboard erasers clap themselves. A sonic god party. You pray together in libraries amidst fading ink and browning pages. Mouth to her, you're my favorite everything, until the devil catches you and slams you in that deep crevice where no one's prayers can reach. My second poem, thank you. My second poem is titled, yes, the Choki, yes. It's titled Anti-Prayer for the Times. 1. The ends of the earth know no joy, only the rust of knives. I cough and a baby sparks into flame. They say Jesus wept. He embered into gray ash. New mortals would only believe in their mouths alone, not the fire and ice that would thwart them. I have not read the Quran from front to back. I know that in my mother's mouth, there's not only God, but an entire Kaaba, an entire room of prayer rugs. 2. I hear you in the mirth of my favorite children, and I hear you before I sleep, when the devil plays on my chest and I need someone. You are not anyone, and I am a daughter, but not yours alone. Here the water is cold and I am always shivering, always 2 steps away from combustion. How clean is your mercy? 3. The heart is in a constant state of upheaval. The womb, too. I bleed Merlot each month and think of you. Who is responsible for this? Heaven is an end to all snap judgments. Heaven is in the palm lines of my hand. And my third poem is one that was deeply inspired from this intensive that I took a couple years with Shira Ehrlichman in Surreal Life. I feel like I see someone from there. Hey, Kristen, we might have overlapped at some point. And this poem is from a really great prompt that we had, and it's about Hilma af Klint, the artist. If anyone is unfamiliar, definitely get acquainted. She was very ahead of her time, and she was ahead of her time in a way that her male counterparts were not. But of course, because of sexism, she was not really recognized until well after her death. Yes, but this poem is called Dendrochronology of a Mystic. There's no silence, but a consistent low hum. Being born is not so jarring when one knows how to exist outside of the physical. Piano keys pick up speed, cooing in dissonant chords. When did you learn you were not like everybody else? Placing an ear to a tree trunk for a heartbeat, kissing the minnows at the bottom of the lake. Soon it's all minor keys. A sister dies, something is born and then reborn, and it says what you needed it to say. Listen bigger, longer. You were chosen by God and by science. Find your sisterhood and play in it. Play. Enter the plucky strings and open-mouthed harmonies. The alchemy magic, what these hands can do. These men with their tangibles and major chords looking for inspiration in mortal spaces. False. Here now, the record skips twice. Impossible to capture the squeals of one's mind, how yellows and blues and pinks pop onto canvas like quick candy. Let the record end on a sweet violin's whine. And now the real music can begin. Thank you. This is my fourth poem that I'm going to read. That is called Praise Song, and it is after a Lucille Clifton poem. Praise Song. To the Boston boy by way of DMV, who knew how I wanted to be opened. I was 25, scared of my own mind and its tendency to weave long webs. No such intricacies with you, who told me I looked and felt good after I slid my tongue down your throat. You asked before cupping my bottom into your palms. Yes, even if I did have to pay for our drinks, you cooked me salmon before licking me all over. How my legs quaked. How good you said I tasted as the waves hit me like God. Oh, that's like the first time I've read that poem out loud, since it's like, I don't know, spicy. I feel like there aren't a lot of settings where I don't know, maybe I'm being too cautious. But yes, that was a fun one to write. And I am now, yes, sexy poem alert. I didn't know if I should give a disclaimer, but oh well. You guys are so encouraging. What an affirming crowd. Thank you. I feel very held, very seen. Thank you. Okay, this is my last poem that I'm going to read. Thank you all again. And this is called To Raise the Dead. I know the decay is coming, and maybe that's why I'm so insistent on being among the living and dead woods, the wickers and rattans, the plant cell walls and haughty feline. A mortal took one whiff of my woods and named me Nature Witch. said I seduced him with my self-fragrance and hanging vines, my painted flowers, amber and wilting. I took a picture of his chestnut skin nestled in my olive sheets and considered the cadavers our sweaty bodies would decompose to, changing colors like a dog's mottled fur. The crunch of black boots on dead leaves is my hum, would replace my heartbeat if a heart were an atmosphere or season. I take my time with all my creations, and yes, the rust bothers me, but to slip my fingertips in soil calms my high pitches. I will conjure my renewal until I am heathen, until the stake burns me light as a feather, stiff as an embering board. Thank you all so much. Again, what an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. That was really fantastic. Everyone, you just heard the incredible words of Ola Faleti. Duet Duet Volume 12, which is the split with Skye March. That is out right now with Milk Pity Press. Excuse me, Pity Milk Press. I apologize.
You're not the first person to also do that either, so.
Perfect. It's such an excellent name. I just transposed it. And everyone, you can get in touch with Ola and find more of her amazing work at olafaleti.com. Please check it out. Brilliant. Y'all, I'm feeling amazing, and I am so excited to introduce our next amazing reader. Our next fab reader is Sandra Marchetti. And I'd like to thank Bob again for introducing me to the fabulous work of Sandra. Sandra's work is lyrical and relatable, and it's really a joy to host her this evening. Sandra Marchetti is the 2023 winner of the Twin Bill Book Prize for Best Baseball Poetry Book of the Year. She is the author of 3 full-length collections of poetry, Diorama 2025, and Aisle 228 from Stephen F. Austin State University Press, also Confluence from Sundress Publications 2015. Sandy is also the author of 4 chapbooks of poetry and lyric essays. Her poetry appears widely in Poet Lore, Blackbird, Ecotone, Southwest Review, Subtropics, and elsewhere. Sandra's essays can be found in the Rumpus, Whiskey Island, Mid-American Review, Barrel House, Pleiades, and other venues. She is poetry editor emerita at River Styx magazine. Sandy earned an MFA in creative writing, poetry from George Mason University, and now serves as the assistant director of academic support at Harper College. Please, everyone, join me in welcoming Sandra Marchetti.
Thank you so much. I'm now feeling a little bit sad. I didn't include my favorite number in my bio, but you all know what it is. My favorite color is green.
That's one of mine too.
Okay, we're twinning way too hard.
Are you a Virgo?
I am a Libra, but
okay, Libra's happy early birthday. Yeah, we're everywhere. Sorry.
Yes. I know notorious Virgo Nate Logan is also here tonight. So yeah. Love him. Okay, so I am gonna mostly read from my new book Diorama that came out in the spring, in the very late spring. And this is a book of poems that is less baseball related, but I will read a few baseball poems as well, because every time people hear that in my bio, they're like, oh, gotta hear the baseball poem. So, and if not, if you're not a baseball poem fan, just disassociate for that few minutes of the reading. It's totally fine. Okay, so Diorama is really a book about poetic influences. It's about Chicago and lots of other things. But the idea of the diorama, I'm not going to read the poem that explains it, so I'll just say really quickly, the idea of the diorama is, a diorama is different than the larger scale thing, right? It takes different tools and different skills to build a diorama. And the cover here is one of the Thorne miniature rooms at the Art Institute of Chicago. So a diorama. And that plays into the poetic influence part. So this first poem that I'm going to read is called Amberwing, Perithymus tenera. Hover over me, fat beaded miracle. Swell your breast, clustered between red-tinged wings in autumn, nearly done opening. Scan the grass one last time, dry as a stone, as a woman alone, climbing the stairs, landing nowhere. I feel like we've already had a lot of female mental load writing tonight, so I'm playing right in. Okay, this next poem is called Married Pairs. If you've ever taken the L, you've probably been on a car that's part of a married pair, which is two cars that are like almost never separated. It starts with a quote from a Young Lee poem, also a Chicago poem, The City in Which I Love You, one of my favorite poems of all time. I mount the tunnel sunken night in search of you. The last time snow fell from under the L, tracks like glitter, like sugar, like fire, or the rain, I raised my hands parallel to the sidewalk, to the tracks, and when the flakes came, I knew I could do nothing to hold you. Okay, Anne Sexton Appreciation Week is always going on in my house, with some exceptions. You know, she's problematic in ways too. But this poem it has a little guest appearance from Anne. Ebb Tide. Spiders wind behind limestone at heights twice mine. A black beach brines the vine-choked wall, times my dizzied pull at the horizon line. I tell you this time I am not afraid. I click the teeth of 7 gods, catch vines in my throat, and spit them to the sea. I tell you I spark into fire the grass behind my strides. Okay, and then we'll just take a really quick break from this book and we'll move to this one. I wrote these books at the same time. It was pretty easy. I've done some interviews where people are like, how did you separate, like, how did you figure out which poem went into which book? I'm like, well, one's about the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series, listening to baseball on the radio and going to games with my dad, and the other one isn't. So that's how we did that. So this book is very different, but it was cool to have 2 projects going on at once just because, you know, when I got bored with one or frustrated, I could work on the other. So I'll read a couple of these. The first one, this book is divided into 2 sections, winners and losers. So the first section is all about the Cubs losing for 106 years. So this is the last poem in that first part of the book. Over Sheffield Avenue, after John Thorne. He wrote a book. He's the official historian of Major League Baseball, and he wrote a book called Baseball in the Garden of Eden. And I liked that, and I just ripped it off. I'm playing baseball in the Garden of Eden. Scratch that. I'm writing baseball in the Garden of Eden, where old cars ride street corner curves in our square city while vendors hawk peanuts. I'm writing baseball out of the Garden of Eden. Clouds sail the blue gold lake, a tincture Titian never mastered. Players skim the surface grass in pinstriped cottons. Blue hats, blue socks, blue numbers. I'm writing baseball out of the garden. I touch the field to liquefy it, a prism painted deftly on my eye. I'm writing baseball as it never was, from a Sunday on which we won it all. Okay, and we'll do one more of these. This one is called Arizona. I went to spring training twice in my life, once when I was a kid and once a few years ago, and I noticed a trend. Down the first base line, I saw your body stretched like an A on the mound, your right arm a slash line across it. A spring training game in mid-March, you only threw a few innings, but I could tell your pitches were up without replay. In the crowd, I hid among the retirees, white men with white hair in white shirts holding scorecards, and I thought about asking, What is it like for your team to leave you, as this team will leave in a couple of weeks for a city at work that no longer stops its afternoons for baseball? Okay, and if you did decide to disassociate, you can come on back. We'll have some more normal topics for poems. I'll just read a couple more. I feel like since we have a lot of Midwesterners here, I'll say that like sometimes when I go to the coast, I get a little like woozy. I'm like, what are these things? Like mountains, like what's going on here? I also get car sick. So, but I think those things impress me more than your usual person because I'm a Flatlander. So this is about some mountains in Vermont, Seven Sisters. What are mountains but lichen backed rocks, creviced blue flocks? I made it back to you, howling pack, flat cap jacks, thrust up bottle caps, blades. Come smooth others, rough sisters, like a jay cranes his beak to the tree line. I'm farther in than I've ever been. In the fog, a stand of pines, mulched sculptures divined on their sides. This scream at your crag divides to a track, a seam I itch to rumble through. Lead 7, you pull the blue, mouth the breeze, grab me. Sound work, sometimes too ambitious, can't even read my own poem. Okay, I think I'll just do one more and then we'll, I think my 10 minutes are up anyway, so can't wait to listen some more. Okay, so one thing that I like to talk about a lot as a poet is like that it's okay to be sentimental. Like I like to hand out permission slips to other poets and just say that's okay because you don't write a whole poem about baseball unless you're really sentimental. And so you know, I don't believe in a lot of those rules about not talking about love in poems or not talking about memories in poems. So this is probably the most sentimental poem in this book. So hopefully you'll bear with me. And I'm happy to, you know, hear your tongue lashings later if you don't like it. This is called The Door after Louise Gluck. A frozen field, the marbled lake. What I don't know is that you have laid all of this before me. You stand behind, eyes wide as a raptor. I create a carpet of ice between us. I want to say, is this the end of happiness? Will I accept love? Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone. You just heard the amazing words of Sandra Marchetti. Please be sure to pick up Diorama, pick up aisle 228, and you can find Sandy at Sandra Marchetti. That's SandраMarchetti.net. Amazing. Thank you so much. Whew, y'all, I'm feeling amazing and I'm so excited to introduce our next phenomenal writer. Our next phenomenal writer this evening is Skye Jackson. I first read Skye's work in RHINO and I was immediately obsessed with the tenderness and joy with which she writes. Libre is a gorgeous book of relationships and connections and I really highly recommend it. It's such an honor to host Skye here tonight. Skye Jackson was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. She writes about love, femininity, and the challenges of navigating our modern world as a young Black woman. Her work has appeared in Palette Poetry, The Southern Review, RHINO, RATTLE, and elsewhere. She is the author of the chapbook A Faster Grave, 2019, and her debut collection of poetry, Libre, which was recently published by Regalo Press and distributed nationally by Simon Schuster. Skye has been a finalist for the RATTLE Prize, the RHINO Founders Prize, the Michel Bousseau Poetry Prize, and in 2021, she received the AWP Intro Journals Award and was twice nominated for the Pushcart Prize and Best New Poets. Former poet laureate Billy Collins selected her poem, Can We Touch Your Hair for inclusion in the Library of Congress Poetry 180 Project Anthology. She has received support from the Frost Place, the Key West Literary Seminar, and Cave Canem. This summer, she served as writer in residence of the Jack Kerouac. 2024, she was appointed chairwoman of the New Orleans Poetry Festival Board. She currently serves as the visiting writer and lecturer of Xavier University of Louisiana. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Skye Jackson.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Sarah. It's so awesome to be here with y'all. If I sound like can y'all hear me? Because I'm in the library, so I'm like, should I be whispering? I don't know. So if a librarian comes and scolds me, y'all know why. Okay. I'm gonna read a few poems for y'all tonight. The first one is a New Orleans poem about Hurricane Katrina. We just had like the 20th anniversary of Katrina in New Orleans, and so it's a very tender time, and everyone's like kind of on edge, and it brings back really dark, upsetting memories, and kind of forces us to re-examine and look at the past. And so this was a poem I recently wrote about Hurricane Katrina. It's called Chasing the Still Point. At the Loss exhibit in Orlando, I am stunned to see a braid jutting out from the center of a wall, reminding me of my great grandmother Ophelia, who kept her own mother's long dark braid in a blue royal dance butter cookie tin box next to her bed for all of her life, 84 years. Sometimes she'd pull it out delicately and show it to us proudly, reminisce about what was left of this Native American woman she'd never met, the one who died giving birth to her. The blue tin and the hidden braid remained in the heart of the Ninth Ward down on Gallier Street next to her bed, even after she died. And when Hurricane Katrina happened and the house was ravaged by the storm, artfully destroyed as if by the hands of an abusive lover, my mother returned to the house, hoping to save it, salvage the rusted metal urn, and bring it home. But it was gone. The still point, as fragile as memory vanishing in plain sight. People will never tell you what I myself have come to know. A drowned house makes the perfect grave, rich, deep, and fragrant with loss. I still see my mother fleeing the waterlogged house, closing the broken silver gate behind her, having tiptoed towards darkness and then back out to the fragile light again, making her way into the car, clutching my as though it were somehow both life raft and prayer. I too kneel in awe and wonder of all that we sweep up as custodians of memory, walking away from the deluge of grief. Nothing is left behind. And that's the first poem. Let's see here. This next poem is from my book, Libre, which Sarah mentioned, just came out last spring. Far too kind. I walk into the dining room and sit down as candles light up a thicket of white faces that surround me. Across the table, a lady smiles at me and says, God, I loved your book. It was so real. She talks as everyone else prods their slick mandarin salads and listens. My mind is still outside, uptown on Peniston, and circles the block in search of a place to park. I flip my thick twists out of my eyes, check my teeth for red lipstick in the rearview mirror. I find a spot as a white woman draped in the shadow of a dark mansion across the street has stopped to watch me. Her platinum hair shines white as sin under the streetlights. Her gaze sharp like an elegant heel pinned into the nape of my neck. I lock the car door, turn to her and smile hello, but she doesn't respond, just stares as I walk up to the house. Fumble with the fence latch, still aware of that stare that followed me to the dining room table, that passed me the coco vin, that poured another rush of Bourgogne into my glass, that crushed me with polite conversation. My hand shakes slightly as I finally respond. Thank you so much for reading. You are far too kind. Thank you. Let's see. This next poem is called No Foul Play Suspected, and I wrote it for a student. This happened during the pandemic where one of the students from our local universities went missing in the middle of the pandemic, in the midst of everything going on, right? And so I feel like her story sort of got lost in the noise of all of that, but I was really fixated on this and wanting to know what happened to her and what the resolution was. And so this went on for several weeks. Everyone was looking for her. Well, anyway, it's revealed that she committed suicide. She jumped to her death over into the Mississippi River, basically. And so her story really affected me. And I couldn't stop thinking about her, and I wrote this poem for her. Her name is Corey Gautier, so this poem is for her, and it begins with an epigraph by the poet Eugenia Lee. Everyone warns us off the rocks, but what will keep us from the river? You left your phone and purse open on the passenger seat in a new car on a bridge overlooking the Mississippi River. You did not take the keys out of the ignition. You left the car, an 18th birthday present from your parents, still running. You rushed to your blind date with death as though it were the dental appointment scheduled in your Google Calendar for the next morning. There was no need for seduction. You were a sure thing. So you stood on the cement lip of the bridge and cast yourself over the guardrail without a sound, like a fishing line gliding into the muddied water. Your headlights were still on as the tow truck arrived. No one, not even the tow truck driver, stopped to wonder why. Lights on, car running, phone and purse inside, engine still breathing, though you were no longer. When he rigged your car to his truck without so much of a backward glance, he confirmed your haunting. No one cares. I imagine your ochre eyes, beautiful and sick with tired, anchored to the water below. Tell me this. If no one is around to hear the sound of a brown girl plunging like a dagger into a river, did she ever even fall at all? No foul play suspected is all that the papers will say. Out of respect for the family, the police chief refuses to speak on the topic any further. They will not call your death a suicide out of respect. The drowned girl, silenced twice. I ask myself, where do you run when nowhere, not even home, will suffice? I was like you once, saw the river as comfort, a dark crib to nurse my suffering. The water, Stygian and full of possibilities, delicious silence. What if I had driven off the bridge, as desire called me to, under the blurred veil of my tears? A wedding of brown water and browner skin. Would I have beckoned to you from the river bottom on a jagged marital bed of rock? The current pushing our bodies together as the curve of the moon smiled down at the light of its own reflection on the water. Let's see, what else? Okay, this poem is called, has anyone seen the Broadway play Hadestown or heard of it? So Hadestown is basically like the story of, Orpheus and Eurydice, and he goes down into Hades to bring her back, right? But he breaks his promise to Hades and looks at her, and then like she's plunged back into, the netherworld. Well, anyway, I wrote this poem when my boyfriend at the time took me to see Hadestown in New York. And at the time, there was a Black actress that was playing Persephone. And I went to the bathroom during the intermission, and this white girl said to me, "Oh my God, are you like cosplaying as Persephone right now?" I'm like, "I'm just like standing in line for the bathroom just because we had similar hair, right?" And I was so enraged. I was so enraged by that I wrote this poem. It's called When the White Girl in the Bathroom at Hadestown Asks If I'm Cosplaying as Persephone. And it's for Charles Simic. I smile graciously and say, I am not, but drenched in her purple mink with green eyes and bathroom dyed red hair, she'll never know that in hell I too have raised a cup to my lips, not knowing if it was filled with wine or blood, and drank anyway. I too have kept death's empty bed warm, lit a candle dying on his nightstand. In fact, I have loved so many different deaths, in doorways, in churches, at the breath of my father's wrath. I have left my mother crying for darker men and moods and ways as the flowers were swallowed by decay. I have prayed to see a son long since abandoned, cast my eyes down as fair Eurydice polished our endless rooms of silver with her strawberry hair and laughed at the quiet reproach of the night still. And I think that might be my time. But thank y'all. It's so awesome to be with y'all. Thank you for having me. This is just such a wonderful group, and you're also talented and amazing. And I love hearing your work so much.
Oh, that was so incredible. Thank you so much, Skye. Everyone, you just heard the amazing words of Skye Jackson. Please consider picking up Libre. You can find her at skyejackson.com. That's SKYEJACKSON.com. Wow, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. Whew. Wowie, y'all. Feeling amazing. Let's keep this going with our next phenomenal writer. Our next phenomenal writer this evening is Lemmy Ya'akova. I'm super grateful to know Lemmy's incredible work through our mutual friend slash fabulous writer slash previous Words Friends guest, Ben Nespajani. Lemmy's work is gorgeous and disarming, and I had the pleasure of reading with them in a yard full of beautiful people and chickens. Lemmy Ya'akova is an advocate for Y2K low culture, an amateur pool player, a popcorn enthusiast, and cat parent to their son, Moose. Their work can be found in Had, Hobart After Dark, Anti-Heroin Chic magazine, Sand Journal, and more. They're the author of the poetry collection Overflowing the Tub, Night Gallery Press, 2024. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Lemmy Ya'akova.
Hi, I'm so stuff like this still exists. I love not leaving my house to read poems to everybody. Yeah, never let this die, Sarah, I swear. So I'm gonna read some things from a new manuscript. I am also going to read a cento because Kristen is here. I have to read the cento. She just came out with a book called Here I Show You a Human Heart. So I'm going to read a cento of the same name first, and then I'll get into the manuscript. I'll talk about it a little bit more then. But this one's for Kristen. What is known? Time passes, sky's blue. There was a time, can you believe it, when I didn't know your name? We feel the world in fiction, measure learning in the wounds. A voice can say so much. The rest remains unholy mystery. Holy mystery? No one thing stays one way. I imagine you young, take you in hand like a stone fruit, uncertain if I should say sorry for the year I spent quiet. We will learn to love a little mystery, our fate, weird on both ends and indifferent between, some nothing torn asunder, emptiness itself emptied out. Materialism holds life is merely matter made complex. This sounds right. I call no monument I kin. Each catastrophe a clearing, each clearing punctuation, and so it comes as no surprise, this stubborn, graceless disbelief that only in its infancy, the earth could do so much. Create rogue paradise, fruits we'll never taste, but something will or did. Already horses for 50,000 years now. How long before? No. And please, or are you okay? And what do you need? I have plenty. I love the world with you in it. Keeping what you can alive and hoping, seeking, seeing in yourself a whole self, born of earth that has suffered to have you, however impossible, cryptic, occasionally unkind. However you are, beloved, at last, we survive this together. Take comfort, take longing, let flowers. All right. Now I'm going to read some of these things that I'm calling impossible domestic gestures. I did a prompt from Ben, our beloved Ben, and now I have 30 of them, and they're a book now. So I'm about to be sending this manuscript out at the end of this week, and pray I get some money, you guys. I want some money for poems this time. So I'm going to start at the beginning, read some things in between, and then read the last one too. When I plug in the house, it has no name, but I know what it is. It knows mine too. I take a look around. Nice to meet you, I say to the house. Thanks for being here, the house says. I get so lonely. I know what it means. I know that feeling too. We won't be lonely, at least for now, I say. We both smile. When I shake out the knives, the ravens finally arrive. Where have you been? The house asks them. They don't respond. They stare back, ink black and blank-faced. Have you been waiting for them? I ask the house. Yeah, for over a year now, maybe 2, the house says. Weird, I say. I've been waiting for them too. One flies away and returns with a tiny soldering iron. I burn a rabbit into the frame of the back door. When I mop the counters, they laugh. It tickles. It shakes and wakes the house. What the fuck, the house says. Everyone on the street hears. One calls the police. The counters are still laughing because I'm not done mopping. The house is still shaking. The police are at the door now, so I answer. They want to know if I need help. No, I say, and even if I did, I wouldn't ask for yours. Now the house has to laugh. This makes me laugh. Our laughter scares the police, so they leave. We keep laughing. I keep mopping. When I comb the mirrors, they sigh. I record the sound of it on my phone. I send it to a friend. It's the mirror, I tell them. They tell me I am insane. I know, I say, isn't it marvelous? We never speak again. The house asks for more combing, more sighing. I give the house what it wants. When I cuddle the bathtub, it gets embarrassed. The water from its faucet comes out boiling. The house is jealous. You never do with me what you do with the tub, the house says. I explain that not only is the bathtub inside the house, but it also cannot talk to me the way the house can. Oh, the house says, I think I get it now. Does it make you feel any better? I ask. No, it says. We both laugh. When I brush the television, the screen turns to static. The static becomes a portal to the past and the future. What's going on? The house asks. I don't know, I say. We watch the portal spiral for hours until the television shuts itself off. The house and I sit in silence for a while. The cuckoo clock chimes for midnight. What do we do now? The house asks. We remember, I say. When I open the carpet, the night comes in. All the blue from the boiled light bulbs disappears. Can you put it back? The house asks. There's no going back now, the night says. This scares us both. What do you mean there's no going back? I ask. The night says nothing more. It settles inside the house. We look around in it as our eyes adjust. You know, there's something oddly comforting about our new reality, the house says. I think I like it too, I say. The cat that was never seen again emerges from the bed, comes to mew softly at my feet. He must feel safe now, the house says. I agree. I would too if I thought no one could see me. When I paint the pillows, a million bed bugs come scurrying out. Holy shit, the house says. Did you know about this and not tell me? I ask the house. The house shakes its head. We both turn back to the pillows. The bed bugs already at the window jumping to their deaths. The pillows say nothing but look ashamed in a way I can't bear. I paint them a different face. When I crush the candles, the person I love hears it from miles away. They immediately call me, sense that something is amiss. Who's on the phone? The house asks. I don't dare say their name. They don't yet know that I love them. It's, I say, but I can't find the rest of the words. I can only see their eyelashes, their hands. When I inflate the flowers, they cough up a key. I show the house what it looks like. I don't recognize it, the house says. I can't think of anything I have with a lock on it. I put the key in the junk drawer. 2 weeks later, a bus with no driver pulls into the driveway. The door has a padlock. I get the key and it opens it. When it does, the bus disintegrates. The padlock falls heavy in my hands. I wonder what this is all about, I say. Beats me, says the house. We sweep the bus dust into the street. When I sun the water, it turns into tea. I think of my mother. The house can tell I'm somewhere else. Where are you? Asks the house. I'm with my mother, I say. She's teaching me how to do what I'm doing right now. The house looks at the giant jug in the sun, 6 tea bags floating under the lid. When the sun has turned the water to tea, we bring the jug back inside and put it in the fridge. After several months, the tea transforms into a bat with 3 heads. At 2 a.m., I take the jug out of the fridge. It's time, I say to the house. Time for what? The house asks. To bury our dead, I say. We let the bat loose under the waning moon. All right, this is my last one. Thanks for listening, everybody. When I unplug the house, it can no longer speak. I carry the last box of my things out, knocking on each door frame as I go. Goodbye, beloved friend, I say. The house doesn't answer. It doesn't know itself can be a self. When I lock the door behind me, the house disappears. I walk out into the night. Thank you.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much, Lemmy. Everyone, you just heard the incredible words of Lemmy Ya'akova. Overflowing the Tub is currently sold out at Night Gallery Press, but you can keep up with Lemmy on Instagram at Anomaly, is at ANOMA_LY. Oh, wow, y'all, this has been such a gorgeous, wonderful evening. I can't believe we're at our final remarkable reader. What a treat. This is just the best. I am very excited to introduce Bob Sykora. I met Bob in 2022 when we were both part of the Ghost City Press summer series, and I was immediately enthralled by his ability to translate the complex into really stunning words. Bob Sykora is the author of the collection Utopians in Love, Game Over Books 2025, and the chapbook I Was Talking About Love, You Are Talking About Geography, Nostrovia 2016. He lives in Kansas City, where he teaches at community college, edits with the Garden Party Collective, co-hosts the Line Break podcast, and curates the KC Poetry Calendar. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Bob Sykora.
Hi. Is my audio good? I always worry it's gonna like come unplugged and whatever. I have lots that I want to say, but I want to read some poems. So the dilemma, but I have to start. There's only one way to start. Can I share some good news with you all? I got a couple thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, yeah. The good news. The Utopians, y'all. The Utopians are in love. They've charted out the next century. They bought these cute matching uniforms. They started peeling the skin off all our social norms. The Utopians are in love. They grind their bodies against the floor, pray in new tongues. They sparkle in their underwear as they wave gravely at the sunsets in their basements. The Utopians are in love. They are constantly fucking or never ever fucking. They decipher the same ancient phrases for their own purpose, pollute the country with idealism. They craft a new life from the words of crazed pastors who keep getting run out of town. The Utopians are in love, and they can't get enough. They don't tire of barking across the city, gunking up the country's gears, dumping ideas for new ideas, always changing, always 30 colors at once. Never just fairies or starflowers, but so many different types of perfection. The Utopians are in love, busy writing and rewriting constitutions. They just love writing constitutions so much. They're men and women, sometimes just a few, but always everyone. Eventually, the Utopians are charged. Positive. The change is coming. The seas will turn to lemonade, sweep you up. Every last one of you will speak in blank verse. And everyone eventually will join. Thank you. Um, Again, as I said, there's like a lot of things I want to say. My book came out in April. It's called Utopians in Love. There's what it looks like. And there's a lot of kind of like coming around in this moment. There's, as some of you have discussed, there's people that I read with when I was traveling with the book over the summer. I got to see Skye read during the little period of time where you were in Kansas City, like years and years and years ago, at this open mic, and just like the room is just like completely silent after like just like everyone's flabbergasted by Skye's poem. Lemmy and Ellis, it's nice to internet meet you. I mean, I think I'm like being invited to something like this is like the pleasure of like doing this work. And I'm so grateful for it. This is the first poem in the book. I wrote it towards the end of when this was my thesis manuscript, and I had this moment where I was like, oh no. I wrote the whole book like just to write this one poem. It did so much of describing what I wanted to do. So I think it's a helpful way of entering it. And this is called The Sky Doesn't Have Any Answers. In Vermont, the trees can barely stand the end of winter. All their petrified leaves lie on the ground, eyeing up at almost broken branches, who will follow soon and pound the earth with the heft of their passing. In the dead grass, I wait for the entire sky to fall down and meet me, a blanket of blue or black with so many freckles. I wait for the crushing infinite nothing to hug me to death. I'm sorry if I sound morose, but I can't seem to put my life back in order. I'm looking for structure in the fringes of history books, stories not so much forgotten as deemed unimportant. I picture the utopian Charles Fourier, growing gray as he constructed a perfect society. Imagine people in perfect harmony. How did he dream up such grand community when he died alone with so many cats? How long before they found the body? Was it blistered or rotten? Did the cats get hungry? Was he furious to find the polar ice caps never melted into lemonade? His perfect new world never came to be, tossing furniture, thrashing the apartment until he fell limp on the floor. Cat licks, slowly turning into nibbles. Fourier found utopia in equations, a perfect set of measurements he mostly obscured in his writing, but real people put his ideas into practice, tried building the communes of his dreams. But all the Fourierist experiments would droop into dysfunction. The geometry of perfection was never quite right. How do you pick up the pieces after utopia fails? Where do you go? Josiah Warren turned to anarchy, tried exchanging goods for time instead of money. Charles J. Guiteau assassinated President Garfield after he was kicked out of Oneida. Muddy potholes I don't know how to handle. Pull my car over. On the road home, the mechanic chuckles, points me to a place to spend the night on the cheap. The hotel room sweats. And on the television, they're chasing utopia. It's on HGTV again, CNN, the evening news. Every channel tries to figure out what's wrong. How to patch up all the holes in our homes, in our country, in these damn muddy roads. The ceiling pants all night. New England drools humid as I close my eyes and dream myself right back onto the roof of your apartment when Utopia was sharing shandies with you while a red July sky set herself behind grumpy old Boston. You laid down a sheet, and I knew. For the first time, I really knew I loved you. As we shouted, "Fuck Boston," over and over at the early moon, Utopia was closest to me then. Was closest to me then when it was nowhere near my mind. The two of us skipping dinner. We talked so late, we almost fell asleep up there. The starless sky groaning. Let's do it again tomorrow and the next day. And maybe Charles Fourier felt the same way. Drunk on ideas like I felt drunk on possibility. Maybe utopia can't last because the sky won't sit still and we're always tumbling through the big freckle nothing so bright in Vermont, barely there in the city. I wake up to an anonymous room, blankets kicked off a damp bed. So little sleep, and so much time has passed. And utopia is nowhere to be found. But the car is fixed. The road is calling, and up above, there's nothing but clouds. Big and gray and lumpy with questions, barreling on ahead as far as I can see. Thank you. I think I'll do two more. Let's do a shorter one, then a longer one. I thought I had these all marked. As much as I love flipping through the pages of my own book, I thought I knew where I was going. Crying on the exercise bike while watching the Great British Bake Off. It's 2 in the afternoon, and I love you. It's true, it's 2 in the afternoon, and the entire room is blurry with sunlight, with fresh tears. The cake turned out poorly. Someone is going home. The layers crumbled. I love you, and all your layers crumbling, overcooked. I pedal faster and get nowhere, crumbling, overcooked, crying. I don't know why I'm crying. You're crying because you lost, because you're going home, because next week your baking won't be judged, because the cake was perfect when you practiced, because I pedal faster. I am no closer to you. My body is soft, full of cake. I ride my exercise bike because I hate my body. I watch reality TV because I hate working out. There's no cake in the evening. I love you, even when there's no cake after the long day, crumbling, overcooked. My body is blurry at 2 in the afternoon as I pedal faster. I pedal nowhere. I don't know why. I'm crying. Overcooked. Pedal. Blurry day. My body was perfect when I practiced. I pedal faster. My cake is blurry. The sun fills the room. The room crumbles. There is no cake in the evening after the long day. My body pedals faster. The day is further away. It's 2 in the afternoon. I don't know why I'm crying. You are not coming home. Thank you. And I have a little bit more time. And I like to go to bed early, so I won't take this too long. But I felt a lot early on. In general, this is it's a joy to be invited to do something like this, and I mean this the biggest compliment I give to poets is when it's like, oh, now I want to go write, and that is like how I'm feeling after this, and that is a particularly good feeling right now because Ellis, your piece like really hit with me. One of the like dissonances of the many dissonances in all our lives right now is like I feel like I'm living the literary life I wanted to live. The book is out. I'm driving to Arkansas to read at a festival this weekend. I'm teaching creative writing, and I'm like overwhelmed by 45 poems I have to read and give feedback on. I've got a pile of chapbooks for this. I work for this press garden party collective. I'm supposed to put them in the mail. Like there's like all of the things and I'm like, where'd my writing go? I'm not writing new stuff. So there will be new stuff. But I also, before I read this, I do have to give one last shout out. I know some of you have heard some of these pieces before, but I'm really thrilled to read this. Joyce Pesseroff is in the chat, and I don't know if you all know the poet Joyce Pesseroff. She was one of my professors in grad school. And I teach her poem, The Hardness Scale, to my students like every single year. It's among all her great work, and so I'm really delighted that she's here and she can hear this. And I'm going to read one last one for y'all. This is an excerpt, a remix of the second to last poem in the book, which is called Various Other Utopias. This, right here, this is the utopia where there are no people. There are only cats. All calamity of fur and cuteness. We're climbing towers made of carpet. We're licking each other clean. We're taking naps in the sunroom all afternoon, drinking milk, knocking over houseplants. We're sashaying away, not looking over our shoulders. There's no need for the old oops, did I do that? Because everyone else is also a cat, and they're all too busy huffing away at snacks or asleep again. I swear, we're always sleeping. We're all too busy with dreams to get swept away in some nonsense like love, like history, like utopia, like yada, yada, yada. Have you ever slept right up against the window, the sun hot on your ass, like the whole damn universe was intent on you feeling safe and comfortable and warm? I tell you, one time, I was thinking about the future right there on the window pane, but then the sun got all just right on my ass, like sleeping inside a toaster oven, like being little spoon to the whole galaxy, like I can't even explain it. But that, for me, was enough. But this is the utopia where online job applications do not require you to fill in tiny boxes with the exact same information you included on the PDF resume you already submitted. Of course, this is hardly a utopia because the tyranny of labor under capitalism exists just the same as it does in our own contemporary condition. Still, everything in this utopia is a tiny bit better. because we've been freed from those tedious moments grinding our teeth, feverishly retyping the same information about our boring lives into blinking tiny boxes on the screens we rely on for both labor and leisure. Everyone has saved a number of hours of their lives. Some have even found entire new days of freedom, not having to retype their resumes into tiny boxes. And therefore, their utopias, like everything else, are a little bit better than the ones you and I can dream. They imagine so much cooperation, 4-day work weeks, no jobs at all. And the people in the utopias of their dreams can dream even bigger, more impossible utopias. And the people in those utopias can dream utopias so far removed from what you or I could imagine, it would break all our brains right here if they were described to us right now. But these people, not retyping their resumes into tiny boxes, are mostly content not to dream because their world is good enough, or as good as it ever will be, considering what history presented them with. Even here, they sometimes feel helpless to make any real change. And this is the last one, I promise. But this last one is the utopia where I never thought to equate utopia with love, where I didn't spend years trying to force a metaphor. This is the utopia where I don't equate utopia with anyone. This is utopia where the poems really do open up new worlds, the utopia where my country's history books are filled with more utopians, where I don't have to gloss over so much awful to find a few people who ignored all that same awful whenever they tried to dream. This is the utopia where I can write my fears into submission, where I don't get scared I have to reboot my life in a new city every few years. The hours aren't so hollow and ringing with echoes of thoughts I thought I'd beaten down, moved past all the echoes of me second and third guessing myself. This is the utopia where I never spent so much time in the past, where my utopias are all future, and sometimes even right here in this moment that I'm spending with you. This utopia doesn't require so much turning back and squinting. In this utopia, all my utopias are vibrant, all alive with so many bugs, so many gardens, you wouldn't believe how many blueberries. I tell you, after all this searching and writing and remembering, all I really want from a utopia is one where the utopias I dream aren't so mundane. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bob. That was amazing. Everyone, you just heard the fantastic work of Bob Sykora. Check out Utopians in Love, utopiansinlove.com. That's a companion site to the amazing book, Utopians in Love. You can order it there. You can find teaching guides for Utopians in Love. Get that audiobook. Find out more about Bob. You can also find him at bobsykora.com. That's BOBSYKORA. Y'all, I am so inspired and invigorated, and I'm so honored to be in this dreadfully imperfect utopia with all of you right now. So thank you. Thank you, Ellis, Ola, Sandra, Skye, Lemmy, Bob. Thanks for sharing your time and energy with me and each other and everyone watching this tonight. I would like to end tonight with a really, really tiny excerpt of a piece written by incredible writer and previous Words Friend guest, Kristen Lukey, who I think is here this evening, which is such a treat. You can find Kristen at kristenlukey.com and also on Instagram at Kluki. Kristen, I was reading over this earlier and I just was so inspired always by your work, but I thought it really encapsulated how I was feeling and how this evening makes me feel. So just a tiny little snippet. You can read the whole thing at Poem Pilled. This is Kristen Lukey's poem, Lemon, trying to take a picture of the moon. Chicago winds stitch the distance between us. Believe in God, who is a horse, and draw them. Forgive you, grow your hair to the moon. Wait for ravens, take a picture. The body will hold it. Thank you so much, everyone. I am Sara Matson, and Words and Friends will be back in the winter. Thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you again. It was marvelous, everyone, to meet you.